The Korg Trinity is now a VST. And my goal in this video here is just to give like a very basic overview of the Korg Trinity itself. And what you're going to see in this interface here are programs and combinations up at the top. If you've watched any of my videos on the Korg Triton or even the M1, etc., you'll see a lot of the Korg workstations from this time period have this similar architecture. So a program is essentially an individual preset where you can layer up to 2 different oscillators for a very rich sound. A combination essentially allows you to stack up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different programs. As you can imagine, if you have 8 programs, each programming having 2 different layers, you can get some incredibly rich atmospheric sounds out of here. And that was one of the big draws to the Korg synths and why they typically tended to sound much more whimsical and huge in the different sounds you could get. Now, if you come into the preset area on here, you're going to have pretty much all the presets that came out in the original hardware, as well as the expanded presets that released in the rack version, the TR rack. And then I think you get some other additional things in here, along with the ability to store your own custom presets in these 4 different user banks in here. Each one can store 127 programs. Conversely, on the Combi side, you get 4 user banks. Each one can store 127 Combi presets within there. Now, pro tip here, when you come to the tag area in Combi or program mode, you're going to see this category filter over on the left. If you're looking for ambient, airy type presets, highly recommend in program mode to just flip on motion synth here, or vocal airy. You're going to find a lot of those types of sounds. And then conversely on the Combi side, you have this breathy, airy category, or the pad and lead category, as well as the motion synth category. And so there are just endless wispy, whimsical ambient sounds within here that you can start to tap into. But also, if you just want some bread and butter things, some pianos, you can come in and get those too. Now, something that's really nice in this Korg VST that they've done in all their workstation recreations is this concept of the easy mode. So when I'm going in to edit a program, instead of being exposed to the vast number of parameters that are available for each section, the oscillators, the pitch, the filters, etc., in the easy mode, you can essentially access the most impactful parameters that really have a big impact, a little redundant there, on the sound itself. So it's easy to come in as you're building these patches out and to just start on this easy screen here. And then when you need to go a level deeper, you can kind of dive into the other screens. Now, some things that are a little different if you go into the FX engine here. This is actually more closely aligned to the Korg Triton setup, where you have this concept of insert effects and master effects. On the original Trinity hardware, and I have mine in front of me, it's actually my master controller, and I use it all the time for sound design. You only had up to 3 insert effects on the physical Trinity software, and those different effects were actually different sizes, so you could get restricted by the number of effects you could use on the inserts, essentially based on the quality and processing that each effect needed. So it appears in the VST version, though, that limit is not there, and I can stack up to 6 different insert effects in here. And then, of course, I can feed and route those insert effects into each other, or I could route them out to the master effects here. So incredibly deep effects architecture in here. I've said this before, the Trinity and the Triton, just some of the best effects sound-wise and architecture-wise that you're going to find in any synthesizer. And there are so many good things in here. The random filters, the random phasers, the delays. I mean, like, all of these are just incredibly high quality, and they have a huge impact on the sound. You really want to master the effects components of this. Now, I talked about the filters in here. The filter architecture in the Trinity is just leaps and bounds better than the Triton. And the reason why is because in a program, for example, each oscillator gets its own filter set. So if we go back to easy here, you have oscillator 1, oscillator 2. You can think about them as two separate layers. So they have their own amp envelopes and then their own filters as well. If we then look at each oscillator by itself, you'll see you can have dual filters for each oscillator, and you can route them in serial or parallel mode. Beyond that, for each filter, you can actually change the filter type for each filter layer. Low pass, high pass, band pass, then I think this was band reject here. And you duplicate that for each oscillator again here. So if I enable oscillator 2, come back to the filter, it unlocks the filters for oscillator 2. And then I can come in and choose to enable both filters, or I can have just one filter. A lot of really unique options on here. And this just crushes the Triton when it comes to setup here. When you think about a Rompler, you know, you often think these very like static sample based sounds in here, and the filters are what can really help bring those sounds to life, and then you shape that, send it through the effects, and this is a big component of what I think makes the Trinity an incredible sound design tool and much more than just a Rompler. So in closing here, not a super deep dive on this thing. I am just incredibly fired up on this. This is in my top 3 synths of all time. Used all across atmospheric drum and bass records. KMC used this a bunch. There's a preset in here called Orbiting Probes. You guys probably know that tune. A ton of guys used it. It's incredible. I think it's better than the Triton. More lush, more playful, more whimsical. And I think if you own the Triton VST, it's definitely still worth owning the Trinity if you are going to dive deep into designing sounds on it.